All right. Hey, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. You know me. My name is Amy. I'm not going to spend time in an introduction because we want to make this very effective yet short. So I know everyone's got a lot going on in their homes, including myself. So I'm going to let Christina introduce herself in just a few minutes. Most of you know Christina, but I know we've got some new people to the team like Maureen. And you probably have talked with Christina. I don't know if you've ever seen her face. She's been on a lot of trainings, and Christina has been sharing ketones even longer than I have. And she's amazing at helping me with learning things and helping the team as a whole. So thank you for joining us, everyone. We are talking tonight specifically about how important it is to create time blocks. And it really is important for everyone in the business, but for me and Christina specifically, we have found it to be so beneficial. For me, working a full-time job when I first got started, just like I hear other people say, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to learn this. But in reality, we do all have time. So I just want to make sure we know how important it is to think about time blocks. And Christina's going to give us some great information. I just want to give you our objectives for tonight, what we plan to teach you. We're recording this so we can drop it in the chat because a lot of people were very interested in this subject. Tonight, we're going to talk about, well, first we're going to determine what matters most. So many of us, we get caught in our heads with, oh, I got to do all of the things. I've got to do Facebook. I've got to do Instagram. I've got to do stories. I've got to do posts. I've got to respond to every message. And a lot of those things are important. But what we're going to talk about is what is the most important for you to start and to grow and engage in your business. We're going to talk about when and where your pockets are. Because guys, trust me, you all have pockets of time. It's easy for us to think we don't, but in reality, we all have pockets of time, even mothers of 8. Nicole has 8 children, so I had to call that out. Even mothers of 8, we have pockets. So Christina's going to help us figure out where your pocket is and how much actual time is in that pocket. You might have a 15-minute pocket. You might have a 45-minute pocket, but we all have pockets. And we're also going to talk about how to fill that pocket of time. So what matters the most, where your pockets are, how much time you have in those pockets, and then what to fill it with. And I'm going to turn it right over to Christina because we are going to end this call at 7:30 or very shortly after. And I want it to be very productive and beneficial to all you guys. So we want to see if we can have a possible at the end question and answer. And the great thing is, if you have questions that we don't have time to answer, it's going to help us create a follow-up call. And if we need to spend 3 calls talking about pockets of time, we're willing to do that. So Christina, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. If you don't know me yet, I'm Christina Martinez-Williams. I live in Fort Washington, Maryland, and I have been drinking ketones for 7.5 years and sharing them for 6. And this is such an important topic because it's really how, like Amy said, how both of us have really built our businesses over time. And the more that I practice it, the more I tweak it and get to figure out how it works. And my life is always changing. I world school my girls. We travel every 4 months for a month at a time. And so I'm constantly in different spaces and having to shift my routines, and the seasons of the year change. And then that shifts when I walk, how I walk with people that I walk with. And so all of that means that I just have to be really conscious of my pockets of time and how I use them. And so when I got started, I was a coach of teachers, and I worked 2 days outside of the house. And then I was with my girls the rest of the time. And then I shifted to working part-time with my brother and doing this full-time with myself, but having to figure out where my time was a big part of this. So if I want you to this is going to be a very interactive Zoom. We want you to really participate, and you're going to have to be writing things down. So if you don't have a pen and paper, or if you don't have your phone, I'm okay with phone. I do a lot virtual, like with my phone versus pen and paper, but get something in front of you that you're going to be able to work with and write with. If you have a calendar that's like a physical calendar that you use normally on a daily basis, grab that. I'll give you like 15 seconds to do that if you need to grab something that you don't have with you right now, because we're going to really look at this so that we can help you build your business, and we can do that in a way that is smarter and not harder. Because I have tended in the past to work harder and not necessarily smarter. And my brother has taught me a lot about how working smarter, not harder. He tried to teach me that when I'm older than him, and he tried to teach me that when I was in high school, and I would work harder and he would work smarter. And I learned slowly but surely. I haven't fully learned it, some things. Okay, so we want to talk first about the things that matter the most. So put a 1 in the chat if you want to earn some money in this business. If earning some money doesn't necessarily mean all the money. Everyone has different money goals, but put a 1 in the chat if you want to earn some amount of money, at least some money in this business. Okay, so we have these things called, people call them, you'll hear them called income generating activities. So the things that are going to matter the most, some of those are going to be income generating activities, things that are going to grow your business. And then there's going to be things that matter the most that are going to grow you, your mindset, yourself, your belief in yourself, your belief in the product, your belief in what we're doing. And then we're going to grow also your connection with the people that you grow your business with, whether that's other promoters, your customers, and in that. So I want you to put in the chat what you think matters the most from the things that you've heard already. I know everyone's at a different place in getting started, how long they've been sharing. What do you think matters the most? Tell me 2 or 3 things in the chat that you think matter the most. I see Joy says have conversations. What else? Talking to people. Consistency. What else? Put it in the chat. What matters the most? Follow up. Being consistent. Awesome. I love that I'm hearing consistency already, because yes, that matters the most. And that's something that with creating these pockets of time that you're doing the things that matter the most, being consistent in that is going to be important. Okay. So yes, having conversations, that's the number one thing. We can't continue to grow our business and have new people come into our business if we don't have conversations with new people. So having conversations with new people is the biggest thing. Now that can happen in multiple places. That can happen online, that can happen in person, but having new conversations is the biggest thing. If you have heard the formula yet, or maybe you haven't yet, of conversations, so the number of conversations you have over the time frame that you're having them, maybe a month's time, maybe a year's time, times your energy, your excitement, your enthusiasm is going to equal your results. So if we want to see our results growing a bigger organization, having more money coming into our pocket, and impacting more people's lives, then we need to have more conversations over a shorter period of time and do that with a lot of energy and excitement. And I mentioned our belief in ourself, belief in the product, and a belief in the industry, in community-based marketing. That makes this 3-legged stool that we're always going to talk about. And I have found that they actually can go hand in hand as you develop your belief in yourself, and you develop your belief in ketones, and you develop your belief in what Prove It is doing, that those things are going to grow your business. At the same time, you can do those things within some of the activities that you're going to use to grow your business. So when I think about the things that matter most, I think about having those new conversations. I think about follow up, like Amy typed in the chat. I think about following up with people that I've had the new conversations with, as well as following up with the people who have a trial pack, as well as following up with maybe my new customers, following up with my new customers. I also think about connecting with my team members, you guys, as well as promoters, and making sure that I'm in communication with them. And then finding a way to be in front of new people. So that new conversations and new people, but I'm always looking for, how can I get in front of new people today? How can I do that in person? And how can I do that online? And then there is a piece of content creation. If you're working on social media, you do have to create some content. Now that doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it needs a little bit of pocket time so that you are you're putting yourself in front of people. If you're in person, what does creating content mean? That might mean making sure that you have trial packs put together so that you're selling them, that you have whatever you're going to put on your table if you go to a vendor booth, or that you have your backpack packed to take with you to a tasting, or that you have ketones in your car in a little pouch so that when you're out and about, or in a little bag, whatever you want to carry them in, that when you're out and about, you have everything that you need so that you're prepared to talk to people about ketones. All right. So Amy, would you add anything to the things that matter most, activities that matter most? Do you have anything that you would add?
I don't think so. I think the main thing is making sure we're taking notes. So in those pockets of time, we heard that we have to find pockets for conversation, new conversation, follow-up conversation, customer conversation, team conversation. So that's a lot of conversation, but that is an important piece to put in our bucket. And then also, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Something come across my iPad over here and it got my attention. Those are the 4 things that I remember just hearing that we need to make sure we wrote down in our notes that we're going to talk about pockets. And then a part of those conversations was the follow-up piece. So I think I got it.
Yep. I think the only other thing that I would add that is probably the biggest thing, I should have started with it, is this belief in yourself starts with these innate statements that we've been, if you're in the runner circle, or if you've been with us for any amount of time, your innate statement, what you tell yourself every day, is the most important thing that you're going to start your day with. So moving your body, being a product of the product, making sure that you are treating yourself the way that you want to treat other people as well, but starting with yourself. If you don't have an innate statement yet, drop a 2 in the chat. If you have one already, drop a 1. Let me see who already created theirs. If you don't have it, Amy and I can send it to you, or a training so that you can create your own. Okay, so there's a couple people who have ones. Does that mean that everyone else who hasn't put a number in the chat has one or doesn't have one? 1 if you have one, 2 if you don't have one yet.
Oh, 2.
Okay. Awesome. So Maureen will make sure we get you the training for the innate statement. Okay, so this is a part of your morning routine. What are you doing when you wake up? How are you setting the tone for your day? In general, this affects all areas of our life. I've learned that with Prove It, if I plug in, I actually impact the rest of my life and not just my business by doing the things that Prove It is enabling me to do. So my daily movement, what I speak to myself, the things that I listen to, so I'm learning and I'm growing, those are a daily method of operations or opportunities, and that's imperative. That's also something that I want to carve out a pocket of time in my day for, because it's just as important, maybe even more important than well, maybe not than starting conversations. That's the most important, but it is super important. Okay, being grateful, yes, definitely. And gratitude is a huge part of that. Now we're going to look at the pockets of time, and then we're going to combine the things that matter the most with our pockets of time. So this part is going to be very, I'm going to give you some time to think, and then also some time to write down on your paper and your phone notes what we're looking at. But when I talk about pockets of time, you may have heard it said, the nooks and crannies of your day, that we teach you how to build this business in the nooks and crannies of your day. I like to use pockets of time as well. And we all have those, like Amy said. When I got started, I had a big pocket of a commute to work that sometimes with traffic was an hour and a half. And then I would have some breaks in between parts of my coaching job in which I had a little bit of space of time. And then I had time when my girls went to sleep. And then now during my day, I have time in the morning, and then I have time in the midday, and then I have time in the afternoon. But I had to figure out, where are my 5-minute, where are my 10-minute, 15-minute, or maybe half hour or hour. Everyone's different. So I want you to think in your day, where are you maybe at a lunch break? Where are you on a break? Maybe when do you go to the bathroom? Where can you maybe carve out an extra 5 minutes to arrive early somewhere, or to leave a little late somewhere where you know that you're not going to be bothered because you're in your car. Like sometimes I would stay in my car a little extra before walking into the house, because I knew once I walked into the house, then I had 2 young girls who were vying for my attention, and I wasn't going to be able to focus. But if I stayed in my car, I could steal a few more minutes. So when can you steal that extra time? So go ahead and write it down. Write down, maybe it's different from Monday from Thursday. Maybe it's different. Saturday and Sunday are different than Monday through Friday. Everyone's going to be a little bit different on that, but I want you to think about your schedule, and I'm going to be quiet in a second so that you can think about your schedule and think about literally where is that. Maybe it's right when you wake up. Maybe it's right before you go to sleep. Maybe it's as you're cooking dinner. Maybe it's as you're watching a show. Maybe it's when you're like I do some of my own personal development stuff while I'm doing other things. So I stack it on things that already exist. I do my innate statements while I brush my teeth, while I put on my mascara, while I take a shower. That's where I use that time. So where do you already have time that you don't, it's already automatic time that you can fill. Once you have at least 3 blocks, and it can be 5 minute, 10 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, 45 minute, hour. I wouldn't do longer than hour blocks. I don't know that it actually helps us to be effective in doing that. But go ahead and write in the chat once you have it, so that maybe it gives other people ideas of times in their day that they haven't thought of yet. But I'm going to give us 1 minute to do that. So I'm going to stay silent. And once you do have your blocks, if you have a lot of them, it's okay. You don't have to type them all in the chat. Just give us 3 in the chat once you've determined what they are. And if you have, try to be really specific. So Maureen, I would push you to just, with evenings, when in your evening. I want you to like specifically choose what is that time frame. Is that from 8 to 8:30? Is that from 9 to 10? Is that from 8 to 8:15 here, and then 10 to 10:30 here? Because I think that sometimes when I've found that if I have a larger block that's like an evening, or then I end up getting distracted and don't finish what I have. But if I say that from 8 to 8:15 I'm doing this task, I'm more likely to get it done because I've created this time frame for myself. Even if it's a longer time frame, then it allows you to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Amy said in the beginning she started working in the bathroom. Seriously, that's what she had. And then she realized that she was spending 1 to 2 hours at night watching Netflix. So her time blocks changed and she was finding time that she had not thought of before. What I've found too is that I used to also watch some shows on Netflix, and I was using my evenings, some of my evening time to do that, a lot of my evening time. And I realized just how fulfilled I was becoming by doing these activities. And so even though I took away from myself the time that I had given myself before to watch a show, I was giving it back to myself in the amount of fulfillment that I was gaining from engaging in those activities. And then there's some activities that I can do that I can sit and watch the show at the same time. And as long as my husband doesn't want me to be present, then I'm, and then sometimes that's where I turn my phone off because I choose to be present with my husband and watch a show. Other times I'm sitting and watching a show to be present physically, but I'm really not present because I'm just doing messages. All right. Thank you, Terry, for your yours in there as well. Okay, I love it. Awesome. Okay, now if you haven't already thought, or if it's not clear in your mind of the time blocks that you have, where physically those are going to be, I think it's helpful to identify, am I sitting on my couch in my office? Am I sitting in my dining room? Am I in the bathroom at work? Am I in the break room or my car? Identifying the location, I think, also helps us to solidify it and get into a habit and a routine space. So if you don't know where that is, write down on the side of wherever you put those time blocks when you wrote them down, write down where you think you're going to be. And that can switch. When I travel, I'm not sitting in the same spot like I'm in different houses and in different places, but I still am able to know, okay, I need to be sitting, or it's okay if I'm just in the car listening. The one thing I was going to say too, or it connects to what matters the most, is sometimes we can double dip in things. Like, I wanted to have new conversations, obviously. So I was brand new to sharing ketones when I got started, obviously. And I listened to Prove It TV videos, the 3 to 5 minute videos on my commute. I would choose an Inspire On video to listen to, and then I would listen to it while I was driving safely. I was listening. And then while I was listening, I was making a voice note after I listened of who came to mind while I heard that. So someone came to mind of that there's a truck driver one. So I know some truck drivers. So I listened, and then I was able to, once I was not driving, I could send out a message and say, hey, I just watched this short video that I think you would really like because it's also about a truck driver. Would you be interested in checking it out? So then I was starting a new conversation. I learned something, and I built the belief I had in the product from hearing someone else's story. And then I got to make a new conversation and make a connection, or I got to go back to the person that I had connected to before and said, hey, I just checked out this. It was so inspiring. Let me share it to you. Those are the Inspire On. So I would encourage you to use the tools that we have as connectors to then be able to use those pockets of time. And sometimes, like our guest call, I will listen to that while I'm doing other work that's mindless work that I don't need to focus in the same way on, like that's for my other job. And then I will listen to it, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll make a note real quick of who I thought of or who I need to send the recording to. And then I will do that, but I'll listen to it, not necessarily at the time of the call, but at a time that makes sense where I can kind of double dip in that. Also, the calls. So I forgot to mention that as well. The guest calls are one of our biggest tools for you to utilize in this business. Always invite to the calls, always follow up the day after to the calls, and always send out the recording. And even when you listen to it, like I said, think of people. And then the Keto 101 videos, the Prove It, those in Prove It TV, Keto 101, Inspire On, and the Better Stories. Those 3 are going to be great spaces for you to listen and learn, but then also to share and to have that knowledge base to be able to share and connect. It's another piece of the connect of attract, connect, and enroll. Yes, 3 spaces. Within Prove It TV, well, first of all, the guest calls this month, it's every Thursday at 8 p.m. And then on Prove It TV, there's Keto 101. So if you type in the search after you go to Prove It TV and put Keto 101, it's anything that's like ketones and movement, ketones and hormones, ketones and exercise, ketones and body composition, ketones and overall health. It's all of the things. And so if you're wanting to learn more about the product, spend 3 minutes a day listening to that, and then think of someone who it brought to mind. And then you can reach out to them genuinely and say, hey, I just thought of you because I was listening to this amazing doctor and scientist talk about the thing I drink every day, and I think you would really love it. Would you be interested in checking it out? Ask them the question, and then you can send it to them. And then the other one was Inspire On, and then Better Stories. The Better Stories are only a minute or 2. The Inspire Ons are 3 to 5. Okay, so now I want you to do is we have 3 minutes. Well, we're gonna probably go 5. We're gonna go 2 over because we started 2 after. So we're gonna have these next minute. I want you to find out in that time blocks that you have identified, where are you going to start new conversations? I like to start new conversations, depends on which ones. Some I like to start in the beginning of the day so that then people have all day and I have all day to respond to people, but I'm only starting the conversation. So often I think it can get challenging to think that you have to, in one time block, have a full conversation. You just have to start it. So you could start it at 8 let's say you have an 8 a.m. 5-minute block, start 10 conversations with people about anything. It could be, are you drinking ketones yet? How's your day going? What are you doing? What are your health goals? Lots of things. And then you leave. They know you have a life. They have a life too. And we also know that texts don't have to be responded to right away. So then once they respond throughout the day, your next time block you come to, you can now respond to everyone who's responded to your messages at the beginning of the day. And then I like to do the same thing at night. In like a time block at night, I send out messages of starting conversations, and then I don't, until I've sent out the number that I wanted to send out, I don't respond to anyone until I've sent out that number. And then in the next little time block, then I will respond to those people. So
I want to jump on real quick
yes.
because that's great. I want to make sure we all know Christina sets a commitment of conversation. Every one of us should have a commitment of how many conversations we're starting a day. If your commitment is one a day, that's great. Just remember the formula. The number of conversations over the given time creates larger success with your energy. So if you're looking for a great growing business and you want to make sure you're having more than one conversation a day. So what is your goal? Are you having one? Are you having 10? And then each day you should be starting 10 new conversations if that's your commitment to yourself. And everyone's commitment can be different, but it's really important to have your goal so that every day in the pockets of your time, you know what you're doing first. You've got to have those conversations if you're making that commitment to your business.
And those are goal, like at least goals. So your minimum is at least one person. That's what I started with. I was at least one person for at least a month. And then I realized, oh, I can do more. And every time I did one, I ended up realizing, oh, that took me 30 seconds to start the conversation. Once I got the conversation started, it's a little easier. For me, it was always harder to start the conversation than to have it. So once I started it, it was done. It was out of my mouth. It was in process. And then I realized, okay, that start only took me seconds. So I can start a few more. But start where you can start and make sure it's something that you can celebrate, that you can do without fail. You don't want to say 3 if you really only think you can do 1. And once you know you can do 1, then say you're going to do 2 the next week. But build from there. Let your minimum be not be your maximum, and build from your minimum and make that it's possible to do more than that. Thank you for showing us your planner. Awesome. I see it. Joy. So now I want you to plug into what you're going to do when we get off of here is you're going to plug in some of the things that we've talked about for what's most important into those time blocks. Figure out where that matters or where that makes sense for you. And if you need one of us to look at yours more specifically with you, we can do that too, and can help you make sense of what your time availability is and where you can plug in things. But hopefully that's given a helpful piece for me. It's always, I'm revamping this all the time. So when I make a commitment to it, I usually make a commitment for a week and see how I can do it. Like, see if that makes sense, if it feels good, if it works, if it ends up being like, oh, that was not, I can't do that. There's all this other things vying for my attention. I can't do that particular task in this pocket of time, but I think I can do it in this one. And so I continue to make tweaks for myself. But I do try to commit to it so that I can keep going at it. If you also if you're someone who needs to set a reminder, I have reminders going off on my phone all day long, telling me to put up this reel, put up that reel, talk to this person, call this person, get on this call. It's constantly going off on my phone so that I'm remembering to do what I need to do and what I've committed to do. And then I also have a physical checklist, and I will set even my time blocks every single day so that I am like, this is like, my time blocks are like 15 minutes. Like, what am I doing in 15 minutes? What am I doing the next 15 minutes? And then I put my activities at the top of what I need to get done. So whatever, you're going to figure out what your rhythm is and what works for you. But it's most important that we get into action and that we figure out how we're going to get in front of more people so that we can continue to help more people get started. Amy, I don't think actually Amy was on this call today, but were you on the COC call today? We were talking about Blake, the president of Prove It, said, share one thing, had everyone who wanted to share one thing that you've heard from a customer or from a promoter that's shifted their life lately with ketones or with a business. And it was crazy. And we all know these things. So if we can have that same level of energy of, oh my gosh, I know that someone's life is going to be changed if I just open my mouth and talk to them and if they get started with ketones. And so use that as your fuel And remember to just keep looking for those opportunities, and they're going to show up. And where your focus goes, your energy flows. So focus on these time blocks. And thank you for your time tonight. Hopefully it was valuable. And yeah, we'll be in continued conversation.
I have one question for everybody before we end the recording. I'm just curious, and you can show me by a raise of hands, so you don't have to put it in the chat. I'm looking at your faces. I'm just curious, out of the ones who are watching, is anyone participating in the Power 30s? Whether you're doing it live or you're watching the replays later. I'm just curious. I see two hands. I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. I see you, Karen. I want to make sure I pointed that out because if you're following those Power 30s, whether you're watching it live or you're watching the replays later, and you're doing the action, because it's a working 30 minutes, that tells you right there that you can have 30 minutes of your day and you're truly growing and engaging your business. So think if you have those 30 minutes and then you had another pocket of 15 minutes, then you literally are doubling down your business. There is so much that you actually can do in those 15 to 30 minute pockets of time. It's just all about you having a plan and not getting stuck in the social media realm or stuck on a tracker where you're just looking at all your people and all the times you talk to them. It's actually taking action on what you're looking at. So we're here to help you guys. This was really about having the conversations, making sure you're following up, and just time blocking information. If you need help looking at your time blocks, if you need advice, we're here to help you. And if you want us to look more at step by step, like these are the things you should do every single day, we can actually help you create the list. Just like the Power 30s, if you're trying to double down on social media, we can give you the list of things you need to do in your time blocks. If you're setting up tables and booths, then we can give you a list of certain, maybe some advice of places you should call to set up your tables for the next month. So we are here to help you guys. You just let us know what your questions are, and we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Christina, for doing this for us. We really appreciate it.
And one last thing about the Power 30, if 30 minutes, if you really don't have a 30-minute chunk, that's okay too. You can press pause on that replay and do the activity that was stated for those 5 minutes and then come back to it. That's sometimes how I would have to do it, is chunk that time. So don't let your pockets can be really, they can be pockets. They can be small things. And then they can build over the day. All right, that's it. Have a wonderful night.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Amy, you have to stop the recording on your end, I think.